Hey, all right, there I am. Ha ha ha. All right. Pareidolia, neurocognitive activity that I use to make my drawings. It happens when we assign meaning to abstract events, as when you see a rabbit on the moon or you hear something that goes bump in the night. This floating but individual interpretation of shared stimuli presents fascinating questions about sanity and shared experience. I think the difference is in the social construction of meaning. I see a rabbit on the moon and you see a man's face, then which of us is right? Or are we both seeing things that are there or not there? One of the important things about pareidolia is that the thing you're looking at has to be considered abstract, but I have a problem with that because nothing I look at is abstract. So pareidolia aids our minds in inventing someone else. We anthropomorphize our pets, our technology. We attribute nonsense abilities to our cars when they misbehave and to our computers. The furnace is an old girl. Perhaps you toss your phone because you really can't shoot the messenger. Our computers die, not simply power down. They need to be retired when an improved version comes along. And we don't think of the old one as being tossed into the recycling. This is an example of pareidolia. It's built environment pareidolia. It's been studied in neuroscience. I'm quoting an article by Wang, Yu, Mo, Wood, and Goon, and I hope they work together again soon. They know pareidolia exists in people, but they can't work out contributing factors such as gender or age or work or education. The tests are hilarious. I scored 100% because I'm a good test taker. And this is one of my favorites, right? You can see the face, yes? Okay, good. They asked subjects if they saw a face, and if so, what emotion it summoned. What they did find is that humans don't like seeing faces in the built environment. It makes us uncomfortable to think that an inanimate object can have an opinion in the world. If you suffer from Lewy body dementia or schizophrenia, you might specifically avoid this building. I also would avoid this building. And certainly not go through the door. Wang's group did discover that 40 is the cutoff point in women for developing this tendency. So you kind of have it or you don't. I don't understand how that research is going in that direction. But then there's another study called the Palmer-Clifford study that found out our brain mechanisms that process human faces, their direction of focus and emotion, specifically where you're looking and what emotion's coming on, causes the subjects to focus in the same direction and mimic those expressions until the stimulation goes away. So we're wired to be social. And this is brain scans. They're seeing parts of the brain lighting up doing this stuff. We're wired to be social and to use the reception of other faces and what those faces are doing to inform what we should also do, socially speaking. But if you're a person like me who avoids looking at other people's faces, that is also part of the puzzle, right? Because if I look at a person's face, as we were talking about earlier, I get too distracted to remember what I was doing. The human face is a semantic instrument of communication. And this screen is blank because it keeps me calm, but faces are always communicating with us, and the certain elements of the face promote that. And Palmer-Clifford showed an array of images in which one could see faces. Charmingly, they wrote that none of these objects has a mind. And I love that because I think that objects do have a mind. I'm always sort of projecting in that way. They continue with, but they still evoke a sense of specific mental content, including emotional states and a direction of attention. If you're an artist, chances are you have made something that has something in the way of its own mind. And if you're an artist whose work travels, then there's a way in which that sort of work goes away and develops its own little resume and comes back every so often in like a postcard or a media post or something like that. Where you're like, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? It's been a while. And so I love that none of these objects have a mind because I can carry on a perfectly good conversation with them. So the semantic language of face gestures here is subject to interpretation, as all incoming messages are, but happy is where we're going with this one. And also note that you're looking to see what she is looking at. And when I compose this on the screen, I have to put her over there so that you have a sight line to follow. If I stick her way over here, then you're going to, around the screen, it doesn't work out. So another piece that's important for me as an artist is closure. So in the Gestalt psychology, Max Wertheimer, around 1912, does this visual, talks about the visual or auditory event in our minds that our mind supplies missing information, right? So if you're seeing something but you can't see the whole of the thing, or you can't hear the whole of the thing, you have to fix it for yourselves. You have to like supply the rest of the meaning. We can see everything wonderfully if our eyes are working, but we don't put it together. Our minds don't process it. So if you see the eyes of your cat glowing but nothing more, you still know he's there because you assume there's a cat attached to the rest of that. If you see a half-exposed label of a cola can or a squashed paper donut bag or the sky blue color of a Tiffany box, all of those things, the viewer knows just from a piece of that what the rest of that thing is, because we've been well trained in our commercial society to know those things. You only need to see one arm of an octopus to know that the rest of the octopus is there, right? So that's an example of what that is. That realization will drag in a host of other memories and relationships, i.e., those donuts are terrible. Why did the people buy those? And they're unique to each person. We use closure to weigh evidence, right? We just don't have the ability to capture everything all at the same time. There's too much out there. And so we just take pieces of it and then our minds process the rest of it, kind of fill it in. However, we're also doing this on a visual level, like artistically. The gesture of line and shape are what concern me here the most, right? The reason you can see the arm of an octopus is because I have a sinuous long line here at the top, right? That long line, it even makes that sound. And I looped it up and around to make a thinner line on the bottom to meet back up, right? And then if you have an array of circles, big ones with littler ones inside, that suggests suckers. We're trained in our society to see all of that stuff. So your habit of your mind is going to be to put all that together. What is she showing me? Put it all together and be like, okay, yeah, that's an octopus. So you can think of line and shape and color as sort of letters in an alphabet that all come together to become this thing. And of course, everybody gets a different alphabet, but we share the same society. So it's easy to talk about that stuff back and forth. The title of this work is Her Husband's Last Voiced Desire Was to Come Back in One Piece. And it's from 2022. It's a acrylic paint and ink on paper. It's about yay big. When we look at pictures, we rarely perceive the whole thing in one go. And with my drawings, this is more the case. Studying an image means you have to move your eyes across it bit by bit as it interests you. So you must look long enough to recognize and remember something. For many of us, the recognize and remember feature involves attaching words to what we see for easier recall and certainly for an easier internet search later on when we want to go look it up, right? So in this case, the AI-generated Americans for Disability Act required image alternative text that was supplied by PowerPoint when I was putting this together is a pink and white painting of fish. They're missing a few things in there, but that makes me happy. As I discussed the last time I was here, I also see things that are not here, according to everyone else, back to Pareidolia. So I draw what I see, I fill it in to make it easier for you to see. So this is an empty chunk of the same composition that I just showed you. So a pink and white painting of a fish. So what do you see is my question for you, right? So thinking about that for a minute. The most suspect human perceptual apparatus is sight because human eyes don't see the whole field. While the saccadic movement of the eyes stores the images from detail to detail, and maybe later we'll use it for data recall by forming a whole image, but I think this is why we sleep, is to put all that stuff away, file it and think about it. The human eye is a brilliant detecting system that will undergo physical and chemical processes from view and send it to brain, though the outcome of the perception isn't really telling you everything you need to know. We process later, we edit, we forget, we dream, organize, or simply just don't even see it. So even in this tiny bit, I can see a seahorse figure menaced by a frog-like fanged ghost, and assuming nobody else is catching all of that, right? Seahorse? Can we go for a seahorse? Okay, great. All right. So I can't unsee it, which is a pestering feature of having pareidolia. And this it's an unmanageable activity of pattern seeking and persistence. And the patterns will persist in my mind, which will continue to invent things based on them that are not there, remember, according to everyone else, right? Because that's how we determine what sanity is. And when that manifests at my job, especially in personal relationships, I start getting paranoid. I'm like, is everybody else seeing this? No. Okay, great. Start looking for exit strategies. You can see, so I've been enlarging this one section for you to force you to study it a bit longer. Zoom in and enhance. I hope you see a sailboat. There's another fish on the sail. We judge size by comparing one recognizable feature to another. And in this case, big fish, small boat. The communication, the map is not the territory it represents, but if it's correct, it has a similar structure to the territory, which accounts for its usefulness. And so in drawing, the language of drawing, the line, the shape, and the color are the things that are cueing us into what's really there. And it's the job of an artist to understand how to handle that stuff so that you can get the memo going. Only steal from the best. This is a Turner painting, a Dutch man of war. I'm quoting from it, which is how I say that artists, when they look at something else and reproduce it, for me, that's a quote in the same way that everybody else does citations. But we don't need a lot of image markers for sailing vessel. We need a body shape, a T-shaped mass, a sail, mysterious rigging, suggestion of wooden planks. Simplicity amplifies visual language and makes it easier to remember. If we take away an important line of the drawing that makes up the visual world of sailing ship, then we lose the connection in the other person's mind with the other ships that they may have seen, or we might just lose the entire thing together. From Gina's prompt, our relationship with technology and media has taken the place that we used to share with other humans as if it was somebody else who's faster. When our technologies become obsolete, some aspects of our communication also does. This makes me think, of course, of McLuhan's core idea that all technology extends our physical ability in specific directions. An electric light makes the third shift at the factory possible. This type of ocean vessel, which is now an obsolete form of communication, carried communication between London and Boston at the speed of 30 days in a well-found ship, as in they didn't get lost. You can have a lot of experiences in 30 days. Mentally and physically, maybe the passengers may become linked forever. Maybe next time we can talk about the white koi fish carrying a city of vacuum tubes and the fascinating messages carried by bacteria and aquatic life, another form of semantics, what you can catch from cold. That's all. Thank you.